Good afternoon everyone and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all safe and well. Now on today's episode, I've managed to pull out of my collection 10 contemporary jazz albums which I've bought over the last, say, like 18 months, 2 years, something like that. Just to give you like a brief little preface to the whole episode. Like most of you, well, not most of you, but many of us who enjoy jazz have got ourselves in a certain mindset in terms of anything outside certain areas, well, eras, not areas, but eras, just doesn't count as jazz, authentic jazz, as far as our tastes go. So over the time of building up my collection, I've wanted to venture out of the material which seems to be on everyone's shelf, and I'm talking about the Blue Note, the Impulse, that sort of thing. Not to say I haven't got it, but every other YouTuber's, in terms of jazz, that's what their go-to is. My collection does contain some of those elements, but not as much as some other YouTubers out there, and that's not to throw shade out on them or anything. You buy what you like. It's your money, it's your collection, you do what you want. So taking my own advice and thinking about my collection and where I want to go with it, I have a tendency, if you've been with the channel for some time, you'll kind of get this as well, not to necessarily follow trends. Yeah, it would make my channel far more popular. I'd get far more views, but when I'm spending my own money, I want to buy what I want to buy because I enjoy it, not necessarily because the whole of the vinyl jazz world is pointing in a particular direction. No, I tend to want to give the smaller artists a chance. I tend to want to give jazz artists from different, well, not even non-established, that wouldn't be fair, but it's easy to go for, let's say, American jazz through the 60s. It's easy to get that. You don't have to like jazz or know anything about jazz to build up a collection which has that, and hence why Blue Note is like as popular as it is. But as I said, to circle back round, I don't really want to go in that direction in my collection. I want something else. Yeah, I've heard the Blue Note stuff. It's fantastic. I'm not going to say it isn't, but there's other material out there, and this particular episode is going to highlight some of the contemporary jazz which I've picked up, and I'm going to show them to you. Hopefully I'm going to be able to provide links down below to each of these albums, maybe a track or two, and you can discover for yourself if it's something that you want to purchase for your collection. Now, the second part of it is those who were here for the really early episodes of this channel know that I have a kind of aversion, let's say, to contemporary jazz for whatever reason. I think when I've actually thought about what materials out there in the contemporary sense, a lot of it for me, and I can be convinced otherwise, but for me, it's kind of style without any soul to it. There's lots of material out there which is, I'm not going to say isn't professional, because it certainly is. It's got good musicians, outstanding mastering, well-produced albums, but there's something about them which lack heart for me. So in terms of buying contemporary jazz, it's really hard for me to buy one, and well, I've got to listen to it a number of times, and I'm not sure if you guys are like that out there, but I'm certainly one who really likes to hear an album inside out to decide whether or not I like it before committing to it. I try to avoid buying albums simply on hype or any of those kind of metrics, or because it's my own money, so I want to know that I like it. Yeah, but that's just me anyway. So enough of the meandering. I've got 10 albums for you. Hopefully at least 8 of which you've never seen before. You might have seen it on my channel, but maybe not elsewhere. And again, that's part of what I'm about, you know, broadening everybody's jazz knowledge, including my own. So yeah, hopefully at least 8 of these 10 you've never seen before. I'm going to try and give you the opportunity to hear them for yourself via some audio format if I can find it, and I'll provide links down below. So let's get on with this. It's mainly, if I can see, okay, there is a couple of themes going on and what I've pulled out. So from certain areas of the world, so there's geographical commonality in some of them, but yet each album has a distinct flavour in and of itself. So just over 6 minutes in, let's get into showing you some vinyl. Right, the first one today came out in 2018. It was on the Whirlwind record label, and it's by a jazz ensemble or group called Scopes. There you go. Yeah, I quite like the album cover. It's simple. It's does what it says on the tin. So Scopes, it's an odd kind of name to the English kind of vocabulary to say scope. You either say scope or something else. Scopes, the plural, kind of, it does throw me off a bit. So on alto saxophone you have Ben Van Gelder. I'm not sure if he's from the Van Gelder engineering family of who have got their names, like Rudy Van Gelder, who's got his name on virtually every great jazz album ever produced. He may come from that stock, and if it is the same family, then just a thumbs up for what your family has done for jazz. So bravo to you if that's the case. Tony Tixera on piano, Tom Berkman on double bass, and Matthias Rupnig on drums. So came across this particular album in the jazz section. Just, you know, something called to me and said, give this a listen at least. You know, just so you got it in your head that if it's no good, then you're never going to seek it out, you're never going to buy it, but at least hear it first. So I did, and I absolutely fell in love with it. It's, in terms of style, it's nothing unique in that sense. It's but don't let that detract or let me give you the impression that this is not worth having in your collection, because it certainly is. It's a well-balanced jazz album. Now, if this would have come out 30 years ago, this would be a highly regarded album. It really would be. That it's from a Scandinavian outfit would have given it some marks down, and that's just people's biases. That's nothing to do with the actual content of the album itself. But if we're just going by that, this is an album that you can put on and just let it roll. Just let it do its thing. It's just good musicians with good compositions, playing jazz, doing things they enjoy, and you can certainly hear it on this album. So super pleased to have got this. I still, I didn't get it that long ago, even though this is a 2018 album. It is still available for good prices. I would strongly suggest giving it a listen to, because some of the albums I'm going to show you, I bought them for 1 or 2 tracks rather than the whole album itself. But this one, the whole album is of a high standard. So yeah, if you see it out in the wild for a good price, I would wholly recommend this one. So, and again, if you're interested in the Scandinavian side of jazz, whether it's from the 70s or more contemporary stuff, this is a really good launch pad for that subdivision within jazz. So I'm super pumped to have got this one. So that's the first one. Oh yeah, I would say that these albums aren't in any particular order. It's just how they are, well, down here. Now the second one, again, it's a similar story. Saw the album cover. More than the first one, I kind of fell in love with the album cover because it's called that kind of Van Gogh kind of looking, it's primitive. Would say primitive art would probably not describe what's going on here, but it's a type of art style which I get, and particularly when you're seeing it from a distance rather than close up, it's more impressive. But that's what triggered me into actually trying to, well, giving it a chance anyway. And certainly from the time that I've bought it, I haven't played it as much as I should do. But again, just like the first album, this is an album that you can just put on and leave to its own devices. There's nothing jarring on there. It's just a beautiful piece of original contemporary jazz. And this is by, well, first of all, again, came out in 2018. And it's by the Sokratis Votskos Quartet. And the album's called Sketching the Unknown. So these are one of the albums that I had kind of half assumed you might have seen in the wild. You can see why I fell in love with this cover. But the album itself is a glorious piece. If you're doing dinner parties, if you're doing a bit of cooking and that, and you want a bit of jazz on in the background, something which is classy yet which is not trying to overpower you. It's not like hard bop or anything like that. It's just, I just think it, for bang for buck, for the quality of the compositions and musicianship, this is a fantastic album. Now, I think it's what's happened with this one is this one came out on a Jazzman label, and I think it just got overlooked, and it's not really fair, because if you just listen to it, you'll quickly realize how good this album is. I just don't think it's been given the respect that it actually deserves, which is a real shame. But again, I'm going to try and leave links down below so you can hear it for yourself. If you do come across it and you do find it for a fair price, I would say, well, it's my humble opinion, and I happen to have it in my hand, so I already own it. If you are interested in not only jazz from different regions of the world, but you want to give contemporary jazz a chance, then this is a really, really, really good way to spend your money and have a great listening experience. So that's the second one. The third one today puts a smile on my face, just for a number of reasons. Partly the album cover, and a lot of it's to do with what the album's trying to do. So another Scandinavian, another jazz album hailing from the Scandinavian region. And this one came out in 2015. It's on the Ozella music label. That's Ozella music label. It's by a band or jazz trio called Kari Ikonen trio, and the album's entitled Beauticious Tales and Offbeat Stories. There you go. So it's a gatefold cover, this one. Again, loving the cover. I think it's a Hieronymus Bosch type image. I think it is. Well, it says it there. And again, it totally, the album cover itself drew me in enough for me to take a chance on it. You'll come to realize I do have a slight fetish for the Scandinavian jazz output. It's just the direction in which my collection's going in. If I can find works from Scandinavia or Japan, and they're at affordable prices, but they have not just affordable prices, I have to listen to them and believe in the actual product itself, the output of the actual musicians. I have to believe in that. If I see it and I can tick those boxes, then I just go for it. And this particular one is outstanding. Now, where it differs from the other first two albums, I would say this is more on the, it's on that borderline between classical, like modern contemporary classical, and modern contemporary jazz. There's a lot of crossover, so you kind of have to know what you're getting into with this one. Now, I found this absolutely fantastic to listen to. It was a sensory journey for me anyway. I just found it engaging. It's piano led, and let's see if I can find out who the actual, if I can work out who it was. No, can't. Doesn't matter. But whoever the pianist is on this album, they've done an absolutely fantastic job. They've put together not only contemporary compositions but some classics as well, but reworked them, rearranged them in a new and interesting way, what certainly, you know, caught my attention. So I was super pleased to get my hands on this. Since I've bought it, I haven't seen it again anywhere. So it may be just one of those things where it was on a limited production run. Let me just have a look at the front and see what the sticker says. It says it's a limited edition, but yeah, what does that really mean nowadays? And I'm sure if the demand was there, they'll repress it anyway. But like I said, if you want something slightly different, if you want something which is a crossover between two distinct genres, but it's kind of like a halfway house between the two, sensational. Super glad to get this one. Again, I'll try and leave links down below so you can hear it for yourself. So that's the third one. The fourth one today is from Poland, and I have, again, a fetish for not only Scandinavian, Japanese, but also Eastern European jazz. Now, most people who other YouTubers and other people I know who collect records, particularly jazz, they don't really go down this rabbit hole. But for me, I find it super enjoyable. You get to hear compositions which you wouldn't have heard otherwise. So I just find it super intriguing. So this is a 2019 release. It's by, well, I'm going to say it's actually Peter, but it's Piotr, Piotr Damasiewicz, and the Power of the Horns Ensemble. I'm going to show you the front cover, and you tell me how that's pronounced. Anyway, cool album cover. It's not a gatefold, I thought it was, but yeah, it's just very thick card, which is always nice. The vinyl itself is really nice weight to it as well. Now, let me take my fingers away. Again, I heard it, and it just happened to be at a time where you get that itch for buying vinyl, and there was quite a few things released on Blue Note, which everybody else has, and it's like, do I want eight different albums by the same artist, or do I want to try and branch out into something else? So I made a conscious decision, like, oh, I'm going to park up that Blue Note bus. I can't be, I've got what I want from that particular catalogue. I don't feel the need to have it all. And this one kind of spoke to me. It just came at a really good time during my I was going through like a real strong buying phase, and this just came out at a particular time which, the stars were in alignment. Now, this one is a more masculine jazz album, and what I mean by that is you certainly can feel the power in this one. The album itself, whereas the first three, I'd say you can just listen to the whole thing from front to back, and that's it. You're gonna enjoy it. This one, I really bought it for 2, possibly 3 tunes, and there's actually, how many tunes are on there? Oh, you know what? The ratio's pretty good. So if there's only 4 tracks and I like 3 of them, 75%. In most cases, that's a ratio that is in the plus column for me, because I can quite easily buy an album just for one track because I adore that track and there's nowhere else to get it, and I want it on in its original context type thing. So yeah, but I would say this one has moments of I'm trying to think of a contemporary classical musician, say like a Philip Glass or somebody like that, where in parts there's a bit of screeching going on and like odd instrumentation where where I can't really place what instrument's making that noise, and some of it's a bit jarring. But as an exercise in jazz, I just find this one to be super intriguing. Now, I think even when it came out, compared to a lot of the albums out there, it was on the more expensive side. So I did have to mull this one over for quite some time, thinking, really, is this something that you really want to get into? Do you think it's value for money? And on repeated hearing it, because this is something that it's in circulation of ones that I listen to, but I've got that many albums that it takes me a while to get back to them. Glad to have had it. Glad to have had it. But I think of the ones that I'm going to show you at the top 10, they're in no particular order, but I'd say maybe this is the one that you can hold off on. But if you can find it for a really good price, I say jump all over it. But it may not just be to everyone's taste. It may not be to your taste. You might find it a bit jarring in parts. But for me, as a audio exercise in jazz, it certainly it's led me to other paths or continuation down certain paths where I've got more confidence in my taste. So I quite liked it for it doing that for me more than anything else. But yeah, some good compositions on here, very well played. The musicians are top quality, I'm not going to lie to you, they are. So again, I'll try and leave links down below if I can find them, but certainly if you see it in the wilds for a good price, do at least have a listen to it and see what you think. So that was the fourth one. The fifth one today is another Scandinavian affair. Let me just grab me coffee here, give me a second. I'm going to take a little slurp, so excuse the noises. Yeah, that was a bit too much, that. Bit of an exaggeration there. So this came out on Stunt Records. Let's just have a look again. I think it's a 2018 release. It's by a band called the Mikhail Nordsø Quintet, and the album's entitled Out There. So yeah, again, I like the cover art. It's different. It's kind of like Blue Note-y, but not Blue Note kind of thing. So again, one of the things is, as you well know with vinyl, a lot of the time, just to entice you, the album covers are of a particular style, just to get you to try and, stand out from the crowd type thing. And this one certainly did it. And again, I was already into my Scandinavian kind of love affair, fetish type thing. So gave this one a listen. And again, it's just an interesting journey. It may not be to everyone's taste who's following this channel, but this one comes more in at the kind of jazz rock, jazz fusion, maybe if you like a weather report type album, or I'm trying to remember, what is the name of that band? It's going to escape me, or it may come back to me in 10 seconds. But certainly a weather report kind of vibes you can get from this. There's a lot of lead guitar riffs in here mixed in with the jazz, so you may or may not like it. I liked it because, again, it's something different to what most people have in their collections. And I'm not just trying to be a contrarian. It's a case of where I want to go on my music journey to see what's out there. Now, certainly when I bought it, it was at a really good price. I'm not sure if you can still get hold of this one. It wasn't advertised as a limited edition, but a real fun journey for me, at least. I like my jazz fusion. I like jazz rock. I've got quite a few albums in those kind of subgenres, so this one fitted in really nicely. And again, if you want to continue down that rabbit hole, it's a good signposting of what's out there. I'll just show you the back just in case you're curious what it looks like. So yeah, just really glad to get hold of this one. It's different, and I like different sometimes. So there you go. I think that's how many down are we so far? That's 5 down. So the 6th album, this is one of those that I think most of you guys either have in your, ladies and gentlemen, which you may have in your collection already, and for good reason, because it's very good. So let's just see when this was released. 2016 on the Love Monk label, and this is Chip Wickham, and it's La Sombra. Beautiful album cover, beautiful. Again, when you're into buying your vinyl and album art, certain genres of music have certain type of covers. This is a jazz cover all the way, in my opinion. Love it to death. Kind of want a poster of it, get it framed, and yeah. Yeah, I just really I just got into it. It's I just take it as it is and try not to let hype or baggage of who the person is influence whether or not I like something. So I think I've got another album of Chip Wickham's, and I think it's desert related, the album title, Mistral or something like that. I like both of them. I like this one in particular. This is again another album where if you're a bit suspicious of contemporary jazz, you're probably going to like it in the sense of you can play it from beginning to end, and there's a lot of good tunes on here. It's more the modal style of jazz, so it's kind of bordering on the kind of well, it's modal, but certainly the easy listening, or yeah, that kind of thing. But don't let that kind of like put you off that terminology. Is it good? The bottom line is it a good album? Yes, it is. It's a very good example of contemporary jazz and what's out there at this moment. So super pleased to have got this one. It's not been in rotation as much as it should do in my collection, and that's only because of the, you get to a certain size of your collection, and even if you're revisiting ones on a weekly basis, it's going to take you time to get back to this one. So since purchasing it, I probably only listened to it 3 times, maybe something like that. But that's not to say it isn't any good, because it certainly is. And there's albums which are in my collection by far more prominent artists, what cost a lot more money, and I've listened to them less than this one. So yeah, don't let that kind of thing kind of blur your vision of what's in your collection or what you're supposed to be doing. But yeah, I think they've repressed this one at some stage, so you should be able to get it relatively easy if you are interested in it. Yeah, I'm a fan. I like what Chip Wickham does. I'm a sucker for flute-based jazz anyway. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's Ron, what's his name? Ron something or another from the Anchorman films, the Will Ferrell character. Maybe that was like the final trigger for me, like in terms of, you like jazz flute, you just do. And it's like, yeah, I own it now. I'm not gonna lie, I like it as much as a clarinet or a saxophone. I certainly like the sound of a flute, jazz flute, more than the trumpet. But hey, each to their own type thing. So yeah, really good in terms of from beginning to end, no mucking about. This is a good album. It's a very good example of contemporary jazz at this moment in time. When you remove all the hype kind of thing from it, it's real good. So there you go. And yeah, as I said, it's on the Love Monk label. Right, final few now. Well, I'm just kind of like, I'm astonished that I've been rabbiting for 30 minutes already. Right, so the next one came out on the AMP label, AMP Music and Records from 2018. I've got to have a little pop at AMP Records because they kind of like done my head in a bit. So this is by an ensemble called Slow is the New Fast, and this is their self-titled album. Beautiful cover. So I think that's kind of like Scandinavian landscapes. I'm not sure if that's I'm not sure if that's a picture of the landscape, like an unkind of filtered kind of thing, because I got a feeling that this is kind of like a composite of like the colors and maybe how the mountain ranges are is a composite of many different images put together. If it is a single place and it looks like that, I am blown away by that landscape. Yeah, but that's enough about that. So yes, this particular album, I bought this for mainly 2 tracks on here. I'm not going to lie to you. The album back to front, it's got, let's see, 9 tracks on there. I don't like all 9. I'm going to be honest about it. Maybe 2 or 3 I really, really do like. But for the price I got it for the tracks that I liked, what I do like, for me, no brainer. I think this is underrated. This is a band who are, well, not a band, a jazz group who I think when it maybe in 10 years time, when they release an anthology of the best of their work, people are going to really take notice of how good these artists are and the compositions, because I was blown away by certain tracks on here. So yeah, my kind of, aside from how good the album, well, tracks on this album sound, 2 or 3 in particular, what my annoyance is, and this might be the album that I can't, provide the audio link for, because on the band's website as well as the record label's site, there is no audio for this. It's like if you didn't find it in the wild, listen to it at that time and purchase it, you've got no idea what this sounds like. And I think that does it such a disservice. And it's kind of counterproductive in the sense of, you are musicians, you are putting that professional work, this is this is released in 2018, but by 2022 to not have it on YouTube or some other platform like that is just mind-boggling. I don't know why you would do that. You're doing yourself a disservice. Give people the opportunity to hear your output, and then you might reach the stratosphere of contemporary jazz because people have got the opportunity to hear your output. But if you don't pull it anywhere, it's really weird. I don't understand. So if look, Amp Records, if you want a British representative for your label, who's, I'm just not a hype man or anything. I like what I like, and yeah, you need to get your act together. You really do, because it's like you're doing some of your performers a disservice. But so that's a pop at the actual record label. But I'd still say to the band themselves, why is nobody doing this? Again, you can do this yourselves. Why are you not doing it? Why are you not putting your output, which is really good? Why are you not letting the public hear it? What's the problem? Pull your finger out. You've done the hard work of producing quality workmanship, but yet you're not letting anybody listen to it. or you're making it harder than what it needs to be. You know, the days of, you know, okay, I'm of a vintage where you had to go to the store, listen to the album, and then know that if you like it or not. But these are different times. You know, it's not unrealistic or madness to say, you know, put it out there on a popular format like YouTube so people can hear it. You're going to pick up sales. You will, because your music is really good. Anyway, enough of me venting about that. You can tell by I'm just passionate about this particular album. There's aspects of it that I really do like, and I just feel it's really unfair that most people are not going to hear this. I have not seen this in the wild since I purchased it. It wasn't a limited edition. I'm sure it was limited in the sense of they did a small production run of it, but I really strongly feel that more people need to hear this particular album, and there's a couple of tracks in particular that would enhance the reputation of the jazz group themselves, maybe take, you know, get them up to the next level. So it's a shame. If I can find a link somewhere, and it might be in a kind of flaky format, I will try and put it in the links. But when I do the links, I want to be confident that you can kind of hear the whole thing. Whatever one track I've chosen, I want you to hear the whole thing of it rather than snippets of it or whatever. So, but if you see it in a while and you do have an opportunity to give it a listen to, the track that I personally bought it for on why it blew my socks away is Axel, AXL, and Henrik. Those are the two tunes. I've talked about it in previous videos. I haven't changed my mind. Chef's kiss. Two outstanding tracks. Okay, let's move on. Right, another album which blew my socks off because I just didn't know what to expect of it. I listened to it and I thought, yeah, just give it a chance. But some of my contemporary jazz prejudices, particularly British jazz, where it's a bit too much overhyped, you know, it is. There's some good performers with some good output, but they kind of put it on a level. Well, I guess that's the record labels doing their job. They're hype merchants. But for me, as somebody who's buying this material, potentially buying this material, a lot of it's overhyped. But anyway, the next album I'm going to show you is from 2019. Again, it's on the Whirlwind record labels. Oh, so it's on the same one. That's a quality label. I think I'm going to have to go directly to them. Whirlwind Records, if you're out there, we should have a chat at some point, because you do things that I like. So anyway, 2018 record label. This is by a gentleman called John Turville, and the album's called Head First. Now look at that album cover. That album cover blew me away, and it's one of my favorite album covers non-stop. Now you know, for those who are not really paying attention or half attention, you're going, yeah, so what? What is it? It's just a mountain range and, you know, an island in the middle of the water. That's cool. I like that. I really did like that. Floated my boat. Really love this album. Again, you can play this back to from the beginning to the end. Really nice sound. I think it's British jazz, contemporary jazz at its best. There's no kind of, like I said, there's a hype problem with British jazz at this moment in time, which I'm not a party to. I don't follow certain artists. I just don't like their output. But that's a personal thing, and it doesn't mean that I dislike the person or dislike the label. It just means that in terms of composition and musicianship, I'm not going to spend any money on your particular work at this moment. Not to say I never will, but at this moment, no. But this one, when I came across it, there's some beautiful tracks on here. Again, contemporary jazz in the modal style. It's just, there's some absolute painting vistas in the oratory sense, as in like listening sense. Is a hard thing to do. I think John Turville on this album has captured that on quite a few occasions. I just think this is a joy. It's underrated, annoyingly underrated, because I haven't seen any other YouTuber really talking about it, and it kind of freaks me out because it's like, well, what are you listening to? But again, I shouldn't get hung up about what other people are doing. I should only really concentrate on what I'm doing and what I like. So I'm going to try and leave links down below so you can hear it for yourself. But of the 10 I'm showing you, this is one of my favorites. I got to say, I got a soft spot for this. I do play a lot, more than quite a few albums that I have, jazz albums by much more established artists, much more recognizable albums. I play this probably more than I play those. So if you see it out in the wild, give it a listen at least. If you see it for a reasonable price and you think it can work in your collection, oh, you're in for a treat. So, right, last two. I think I'm going to have to go through these fast because the memory card might go. So, one of my favourite albums, since I've started my Scandinavian fetish in contemporary jazz, this album came across my path and the stars were in alignment. I loved everything about it. Just loved it. This is by the Jaska Luka Karinen trio, and the album's called Origami. So those who have been with the channel for a while, I've kind of hyped this since I bought it. I just think it's an absolutely superb, not only contemporary jazz album, but just jazz album full stop. I just think it's that good. I'm going to leave links down below for you to hear it for yourself. I'm conscious of, I've got to move fast with this. 4-track album, came out on the We Jazz record 2017. Oh, just love it. Love it. Love the artwork. Gentlemen involved. It's just, it sounds great. Great composition, great musicianship. It's everything I want in modern contemporary jazz. It just ticks all my boxes. Right, so I'm going to move on quickly. And the last one, Polish drummer and band leader Aleksi Heinola Quintet. Again, those who are familiar with the channel know I raved about it as soon as I got it. This one came out on the Jazz Aggression label 2019. So this is a bit of a throwback album. So it's modern contemporary jazz, but has that kind of hard bop, kind of 60s sound to it. So it took me I liked it, but at the same time was suspicious in the sense of, well, you're just harking back to, it's like a homage to an earlier time. So do I like your work because it's a standalone piece, or do I like it because it's basically gives me kind of like memories of albums that I've already heard and already owned, kind of thing. So I fought that battle in my mind for a while. It's a good album. It's a good album. It really is. Pretty much all of it is really good. So if you do see this one in the wild, I suggest getting your hands on it. At least have a listen to it. I'm going to try and leave links down below so you can hear it for yourself. But yeah, I've had to whiz through the last couple, so sorry about that. So thank you for joining me. As I said, today was just 10 contemporary jazz albums, which I think may interest you, may work in your collection. It may be the direction that you want to go in terms of where your jazz collection's going. All of those I thoroughly enjoy for differing reasons, but I like that they're from different places. They're not just from one label. They're from different areas of the world, so it's got different voices of jazz, and I love all that kind of stuff. So you can tell by my enthusiasm that, yeah, I don't have a lot of contemporary jazz, but what I do like, I will hype it, I would, say to anyone, give it a listen at least, And with all of those, I would say, yeah, for one or another reasons, they're good purchases for your record collection, if you're so inclined. So until the next episode, thank you so much for joining me, listening to my almost 45 minutes of ranting. Look after yourselves, stay safe, and I will see you soon for another episode. So see you in a bit. Take care. Bye bye.